right, I am really excited. I've got the Black Ice Audio F22 integrated tube amp to unbox and put together and connect up to the Motion XT B100s. And then we've got a big surprise for you as well. Behind me, covered in these black speaker cloths, we'll be unveiling those shortly afterwards. For those of you that are not familiar with Black Ice Audio, it's the rebrand of Jolita Audio from a number of years ago. There's a whole backstory as to why they had to do that, but they've integrated all of the things that I'd hoped they could put into their new product line. I own an older Jolita integrated tube amp, and this has everything in it that I could have asked for. So without further ado, I'm gonna unbox this and then set it up here on the table. We'll go through the tube installation. I'll talk a little bit about biasing the tubes, which ultimately means getting the right amount of power to each tube, so you're not overdriving some and underdriving the others. So let's open up this box. This is heavy. If you're at all concerned about moving one of these, do it with another person. The tube amp comes with a set of gloves for installing the tubes. Highly recommend that you use them. So set that aside, and this is just a thing of beauty, and it does have some weight to it. Okay, so lots of connection options on the back. You've got the power cable receptacle. You've got two different sets of speaker binding posts. You've got a subwoofer output, which is awesome, and then a recording out loop and a number of other inputs. And in this case, they're just numbered. So notice there's no dedicated phono input. If you're going to use a turntable with this, you need to get an outboard phono preamplifier. So let's move this off to the side, set this bad boy down. Okay. We'll go over a few things on the front. Let me get the remote control out of here first. So this is a beautiful remote control. It's all metal. It's actually got some decent heft to it. Really basic, simple. You got to take the screws off to put the batteries in. So on, off, volume up, volume down, source selection, headphone. You can select the headphone output right here if you want to just use a pair of headphones. Mute button. So just really, really elegant, simple remote. So we're going to put this down here. And this has 4 preamplifier stage tubes and 4 amplifier stage tubes. You can get a variety of different tubes with these. We went just with what Black Ice Audio recommended as the entry level. So just keep in mind that, you know, you can customize this and just have this thing built more or less however you want. Now you'll notice on the unit there are numbers, and so you've got V1, V2, V3, V4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So the little tubes for the preamplifier stage, get all of this out of here, connect up. You got to insert these things. You'll see that there is a specific way to insert them. I've already identified and gone through and biased this once. So I've labeled everything as to where they're going to go. So yeah, I've labeled the boxes, and sure, I can put any tube in any box, but as long as you're careful and you put the right one in the right box, then you don't have to worry about labeling the tube in some way, marking the equipment, or having a label slide off, because these things get hot. And you need to let this warm up for about an hour before you can really start listening to it. And it's just going to generate a lot of heat, so don't stick anything on the tubes. Just be careful and be consistent, and you'll be okay. So I know this is going to look a bit janky, but I left my gloves away from the office, and so I don't want to touch these tube amps. But thank God Martin Logan has handy dandy little speaker covers. So this is going to double as a rough glove slash mitten, and I'm going to go ahead and plug all these tubes in now. I don't want to get the oil from my hands on the tubes. That's why I'm using this. So I'm going to show you how you have to do these preamplifier tubes, because they do have to be aligned. If you look at the socket, you'll see that there's a space there where there are no jacks for these pins to slide into. So as I watch this, and you don't want to over muscle this, you'll bend the pin. So you line it up and you just push it in firmly and gently, and that's how you do a preamp tube. Okay, so we've got to align these power tubes the same way. It's a little different because there's actually a guiding rod right there. It might be hard to see. The pattern of the connection rods right here is not as important as lining this up with the socket. You'll see the little cutout right there. So I'm going to try to eyeball this and then slide it in. Up, there it goes. So here it's not a stop. Boom, there we go. I was barely pushing on it. I'm going to just push this down gently but firmly, and there we go. All right, next we're going to warm up, and then we'll bias it, and then we're going to connect it up to these beautiful Martin Logan B100s and listen to it. Okay, we've got the Black Ice integrated tube amp connected up. We've got the tubes installed. I've got a little Bluetooth audio source connected to it. We've got it connected to the Martin Logan bookshelves. And now I'm going to go over the power up and warm up sequence. So I can either use the remote or I can use the controls on the console. First thing I'm going to do is come around the back and flip the power switch up. Hopefully you can see that right here. Flip it up, and then the logo lights up on top, the Black Ice Audio here and on the front. And the unit is now in standby mode. I can use the remote and hit the power button and it'll turn on, or I can tap the logo. You'll see it's flashing, goes through a short warm-up sequence. You'll see the tubes light up, and then when this is done flashing, we need to wait about an hour to let these tubes warm up, and then we'll do the bias. But before that happens, after this is done flashing, all right, so I'm going to show you what I mean by the biasing and how we have to wait a while. So come here and take a look at, zoom in on this. So right now the knob, the selector is on off. If I go to V1, it lights up, and for power tube 1, we're at about 59 milliamps. Switch it to 2, it's a little lower, 3, a little lower, 4, a little lower. So let's put this back on 1, and every time you adjust 1, you have to adjust the others, because these tubes are all pulling power from a singular source. So if you increase the power to 1, you're going to be decreasing the power to the remaining 3. So it's a bit of an iterative process, and you have to go through this a few times. But we'll start off with the first tube. So we slide this in here, and you'll feel it grab. Hold on, it's not. There it is. Okay, popped in. So now watch the meter as I twist this. Then now see, you can twist this, and you should see the needle on the meter going up. Mm-hmm. Oop, going up, going down. Okay, we're going to put it right at 60. Okay, then I'm going to switch it to V2. Now I need to make sure that I put the biasing tool into the V2 slot, and then you'll feel it pop in there. So now let's adjust that, bring that to 60. I'm going to quickly snap this back down to 1. You can see it moved a little bit. Like I said, as I adjust the power to each tube, it's going to redistribute the power between all 4 of them. So we're at 2, now we're going to go to 3. Drop this in here. Yep, there it popped. Turn it clockwise to increase the power to V3. And there we go. And then I'll turn it to 4. And we're going to go and drop this in. Come on. Yep, there we go. you'll feel it when it catches. Okay, now let's take a look at 3, 2, and 1. Okay, 2 is that one's a little high. So let's adjust 2 down a little bit. There we go. That looks good. Okay, so let's take a look at 1, 2, 3, 4. They all look pretty good. I'm going to turn this off, and we'll come back in an hour, adjust the bias one more time, and then listen to some music. All right, so on the back of the F22, there are 2 sets of binding posts. You've got your common, and then you've got a 4 ohm and an 8 ohm binding post. And the nominal impedance of the Martin Logan B100 XTs is 4 ohms. So we've connected these ethereal speaker cables with the banana jacks to the binding post for 4 ohms. And then I'm running this to the back of the speaker. So the back of the Martin Logan has 2 sets of binding posts. And these connect up really easily right through here. You've got the metal bridges between the tweeter and the woofer, so if I take these out, I can bi-amp these speakers. Really nice way of providing, perhaps you want tube amplification for the tweeter and you want some solid state power going to the woofer, but it's easy to do. You just loosen this up, and I believe I've showed you this already, and then you loosen the bottom one up, and then just lift it out and away. And so now I can bi-amp the speaker. Put this back in place, tighten these up. Now, for some reason, these are not connected up properly. You're either going to be missing the high frequencies from the fold-in motion tweeter, or you're going to be missing the mid-range and bass from the woofer. So if you get a pair of these and it sounds like it's broken, like it's missing something, and you've got these the metal bridges in place, just double check that before you make any phone calls, because that's an easy fix. And if that's what it is, and you call tech support and you find out that, you know, I did this and I felt like a real knucklehead not checking that before I called. Anyway, it can happen even to experienced installers. You know, you just get excited and you want to plug it in and turn it on, and then it sounds like crap and you can't figure out why. Check that. So these slide in, provide a nice secure connection. The Black Ice F22 is ready to roll. I got about another 45 minutes to go. Can really feel the heat. You can't quite cook a hot dog on here yet, but it's getting there. So this will be really exciting. Okay, so we've been warming this up for about 15 minutes, and when I did the first demonstration of biasing the tubes, you noticed that I had adjusted the power going to all of the tubes. So now we're going to go back and we're going to look at it after about 15 minutes of warm-up time. These are getting really nice and hot. But come here and take a look at the meter. I'm not gonna change anything. I'm just gonna switch it between tubes 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you'll see right here on the meter, we'll put it on 1. 1 is right at 60. And now this is without any adjustments. It's just warmed up. Now these are higher. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to 2. Oh, no. Okay, so 1 is at 60. We're gonna go to 2. Now I've got to turn it down, because these tubes, you want to keep them all right at 60. There we go. We're going to dial that down. Probably going to have to go back to 1 at some point. There's 2, there's 3. So 3 is getting way too much. Let's dial 3 down. Oh, 4 is way too high. That's why this is an iterative process, because I'm going to wait another 15 minutes. And then I'm going to make some other adjustments. So 3, 2, and 1. 1's a little high, which is, I would expect that after turning the power down to the other tubes. Okay, let's see. 2 is a little high. I line my eye up. I usually use one eye when doing this. If anybody watching this is a firearms enthusiast, it's like using your aiming eye on your iron sights. And if you're not, well, just trust me, use one eye. Okay, so we're gonna let that warm up for another 15 minutes or so, and we'll come back and do it again. I won't record that until we get to the full hour into the warm-up process to do a final bias, and then from that point on going forward, you can check your bias, I don't know, once a month if you really want to. You can see how easy it is. With this particular model from Black Ice Audio, they really made biasing the tubes simple. It just makes it a pleasure. So we're gonna let this warm up for a little bit and come back and listen to some more music.